Because rehearsals for Blue Spring City Theater's production of Cabaret are underway, I want to talk about an important piece of real history that the musical exists alongside but doesn't really have time to explain in detail. How Nazi Germany used symbols to identify, dehumanize, and persecute people in concentration camps. Content warning: this video discusses Nazi persecution, imprisonment, and violence against marginalized groups. In Nazi concentration camps, people were reduced to categories. Prisoners were made to wear colored triangular badges that signaled why they had been arrested, labels that shaped how guards and other prisoners treated them, and in many cases, whether they lived or died. Different colors meant different things. The yellow triangle marked Jewish prisoners and was one of the most widely recognized symbols of Nazi persecution. In many camps, Jews were forced to wear two overlapping yellow triangles forming a six-pointed star to visually echo the Star of David. The red triangle identified political opponents of the Nazi regime. This included communists, social democrats, trade unionists, resistance fighters, journalists, intellectuals, and anyone suspected of anti-Nazi activity. Prisoners labeled with green triangles were classified by the Nazis as professional criminals. This category often included people convicted of theft or repeated offenses, but it also frequently swept in people criminalized due to poverty or social marginalization. The black triangle was one of the most broadly and loosely defined categories. It labeled people the Nazis considered asocial or undesirable, including Roma and Sinti people, disabled individuals, homeless people, sex workers, alcoholics, some lesbians, and gender nonconforming people. This category reflected Nazi ideology that valued conformity, productivity, and racial purity. Asocial prisoners were stigmatized even within the camps and were often subjected to extreme neglect, forced sterilization, or medical experimentation. The purple triangle marked Jehovah's Witnesses, who were imprisoned for refusing to swear loyalty to the Nazi state, perform military services, or salute Hitler. The blue triangle marked foreign forced laborers and immigrants, including people from occupied countries who were sent to work in Nazi camps. The pink triangle identified gay men and men accused of homosexual behavior under paragraph 175, the German law criminalizing sex between men. This category also included some transgender women who were often targeted as degenerate or sexual deviants. Pink triangle prisoners were among the most isolated and abused groups in the camps. They were frequently subjected to targeted beatings, sexual violence, medical experiments aimed at curing homosexuality, and social ostracization by both guards and other prisoners. As the Holocaust Encyclopedia notes, badges could be combined to show multiple categories of persecution. Some prisoners were forced to wear multiple triangles, stacked or combined to indicate more than one offense. For example, a Jewish political prisoner would wear a yellow and red triangle, a Jewish gay man would wear yellow and pink, a Roma political dissident would wear black and red. These individuals were often treated with even greater brutality as overlapping identities compounded Nazi persecution. Now, according to the USHMM, between 5,000 and 15,000 men were imprisoned in concentration camps as homosexual offenders. Survival rates for pink triangle prisoners were among the lowest in the camps due to forced labor, abuse, and medical experimentation. And this is the part that often is left out of history lessons. When Allied forces liberated concentration camps in 1944 and 1945, many prisoners were freed, but not everyone. The Holocaust Encyclopedia states, because paragraph 175 remained in force after the war, men imprisoned for homosexuality were frequently not recognized as victims of Nazism. They were not released, but instead moved to regular prisons to complete their sentences. In other words, some men survived the camps only to be re-imprisoned for homosexuality. Because homosexuality remained illegal in Germany for decades after the war, most survivors stayed silent. Paragraph 175 was not fully repealed until 1994. One of the first survivors to speak publicly was Josef Kohout, writing under the pseudonym Hans Heger, in The Men with the Pink Triangle, published in 1972. His memoir revealed both camp atrocities and post-war abandonment. In the 1970s and 80s, LGBTQ+ activists reclaimed the pink triangle as a symbol of remembrance and resilience. The pink triangle reminds us that the liberation did not mean freedom for everyone, and that justice delayed is still injustice. History doesn't end when the camps are opened.